What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV. Make sure that you go and sign up for the PDF all about getting started, dollar cost averaging, and you also get a newsletter that's very helpful. Go to coinmastery.com/invest. Anyone on Android, we do have the podcast now. It takes you to a Google Play store, but it's in there. You just go to coinmastery.com/Android. And I should be able to hook you guys up. It's just /iTunes if you're on an Apple computer. Get the podcast, listen to the audio. If you're on your commute, we're doing daily crypto analysis. We're doing a little bit of everything with the goal of making better decisions and making more profits in what is probably the biggest financial revolution of our lifetimes. Now, got some interesting stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about what happened with Rise, what happened with Verge, two of probably the most requested topics yesterday. I also want to talk about a few other interesting pieces of news, some trades I made, and then a topic that you guys may find interesting. But before I get started on all that, if you're listening on the podcast, please turn up the volume for the next 2 minutes. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on your phone or on your desktop, please listen to the audio that I'm about to say. This is really important. Yesterday, I reviewed a few coins. I personally underestimated how much people would take presenting a coin as an endorsement. I did not mean for that to happen. I did not mean that by putting up something, by reviewing it, it inherently meant that, hey, this is something you should go check out and potentially put your money into. I meant it more of as a, here's something I saw, you should go and investigate yourself, sign up, get part of the beta program, go look at the team, if there is a team, which I don't think there is, the more I research this, which is super sketchy. But this is definitely my, I take responsibility for that. I should have been more clear about that. And moving forward, if you ever see me talking about a coin, an ICO, anything, please do not take it as any sort of endorsement or advice or anything. This is all just me sharing my journey. These are all things that I'm looking at and learning about with you. I'm not trying to push anything on top of the community. So I just want to be super clear about that. Nothing I say is advice, like this is where you should put your money. Okay, I'm not saying this for any other reason than I just don't want there to be confusion about my intentions when I present things. So with the two that we did yesterday with, was it WCX and at BlockNet, I believe? I don't know if those could become billion-dollar companies. They could go to zero. I don't know. I'm learning with you. So please don't take this as an endorsement. That's really important. Because I want to be able to share everything with you, both the good and the bad, so that you guys can see the process I'm going through and help you make your own decisions with your own money. All right, that's the first thing. Second thing, which is kind of I just got to say this, the link in that video did have I got $4 if you sign up for a free email. I should have disclosed that. From now on, if you ever see me putting a link up where there's something that you can buy on the other end, assume there's an affiliate link. I will definitely tell you, but also realize that I'm never going to present something that I don't think is valuable or I haven't used myself in some way. And I certainly would never ask you to spend your money knowing that I would get a kickback on it, right? It's always up to you, and I only present good things to you. Just want to be clear about that, but from moving forward, if you ever have a doubt in your mind and I'm linking to something else, you can assume that there's some sort of partnership unless I say, I'll be very clear about it, right? I'll tell you yes or no. Just want to be super clear about that and for the official statement. The third thing, and this is more of a general picture, this whole journey we're on, it's important to realize myself, and I hope you, I'm not worried about the small time stuff. I'm not trying to nickel and dime anybody. I'm not trying to sell you a $5 ebook. I'm not trying to sell you anything, not because there's not an opportunity, but it's because the real thing here, guys, is that we can make huge amounts of money, like $50, $100 million. And that's what I'm thinking about, is how do I hit that number? I'm not worried about the small stuff, and I hope you aren't either. I'm worried about how do I leverage this huge revolution and I can bring everybody with me. That's the really important thing, and that's what I want you to know. I want to be very clear about that. So that's what my intentions are. Along the way, there are probably going to be opportunities where there may be something that I can help with, and maybe I'll charge for that. Who knows? But at the end of the day, this is about you guys and me together trying to make something huge happen. I don't want to get hung up on these small details that it just doesn't matter. So I took the link down on the video yesterday. I'm going to redirect that link so there's no affiliate commission. I just don't want there to be any. This is about something way bigger, and I just hope they just keep thinking about that. I want us all to keep thinking about that, so that we don't end up getting into the same drama and bullshit that so many other communities fall into. Just wanted to say that. That's it. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate all the feedback. I just need to be clear about all of this. There's no official endorsements on anything. I'm just doing due diligence in real time with you, right? And I'll keep you in the loop, right? Like with the WCX thing, I emailed their team, and they wrote back. They're like, oh, we can't reveal the identities of the directors for some ridiculous reason. And I was like, this is insane. I said, okay, well, that's crazy. Can you at least give me a beta program? And they said they would. They'll definitely get me one in the next week or two. So, which is kind of, that's all I really care about. I'm not gonna, who knows? So I will keep you in the loop. But yeah, if the red flags go up, you guys, the gut doesn't feel right, don't buy it. Like it's your money. That's how I feel about the teams. That's why I brought it up. I was like, hey, this rubs me the wrong way. You should check it out. Let's talk about what happened yesterday and today. Right now, Bitcoin is crushing it. Again, all-time high. Let's see where we're at here. 47.10. I guess this morning is at 47.30. From what I can tell, from the word on the street, 4,800 seems to be the number that a lot of people are looking at. And if it hits 4,800, it's going to pop to 5,000 pretty fast. So who knows if that's really what's going to happen, but that's something to keep in mind. There's a lot of people trying to push that thing up to 4,800. It's pretty exciting to think about. I mean, I look back at where I was a year ago. What day is today? It's August 31st at 11 a.m. Pacific time. August 1st last year, I think I was actually in Hawaii. I was living in Hawaii for a month. And I wasn't even thinking about cryptocurrency. I was thinking about some of the other companies I was doing, and I was thinking about what the water temperature was like that day. But, I owned some Bitcoin. I owned a little bit of Ethereum, but I just didn't even, what a difference this world, how fast the world and our lives can change. I think it's just, I find that's such an important thing to do, is to realize that sometimes it can feel like an eternity waiting for an hour in this business. But when you look at a year's timeline, your whole life can change, right? In a variety of ways. And keeping that in mind, it'll help you stay grounded. It'll also help you keep you sane and making better decisions, because if you don't think long term, like at least longer term than 2 days at a time, you're going to get swallowed up when the sharks come in. That's just the nature of finance, the nature of competition. Really exciting. It's just cool to see this. And even since we started, in my first video, if you go back and watch it, it was on that July 19th thing. And I was looking at a Bitcoin chart that was around 1900, talking about, oh yeah, I think this is a good thing to buy. Like where are we going to be in a year? Amazing. What an incredible time we live in. Really fascinating. Let's talk about Rise. Rise had quite the quite the spike yesterday. Very, I mean, it was unbelievable to just see this thing go up. If you didn't see, you should go on Twitter. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Carter Thomas. This is where I post more regular stuff, or, you know, timely stuff. But the night before, so Tuesday night, my time, I bought some. And this is just because I was messing around with some technical analysis stuff. I was trying to see if I can get this right. And I saw the peak, I drew the Fibonacci to the peak and to the valley. And I saw the trend go down and then bounce off the line and start to come back up. This was not a lot of money. I think it was only a couple $100. And I just said, hey, look, you know, this came down, it bounced off the line, off the top line, the 62 or whatever it is, started to go back up. Whether or not that is an accurate thing, I'm not entirely sure, but what I do know is that I learn the best when I actually do the stuff. So I did it. I immediately set the 20% sell order above it, and it executed, as you can see in this. And so I had left over however many hundreds of rides left, which equivalent of maybe a couple $100 tops, or less. I don't know what it was. Not enough that this was like a real thing. But okay, cool. As the day goes on yesterday, I start to see it creep up, and then you see it go bananas, right? It goes up to 19,000 sats or 19,500 sats. I bought it at 3,500 and sold it at 4,200. Now it's easy to think to myself, man, I just missed out on a huge return. You know, if I had just held that, I mean, even if it was a small amount, I probably would have made a couple $1,000. But that wasn't my strategy. My strategy was, I want to test out a theory that I just learned, and I got to get used to this 20% scalp thing. I mean, I've done it however many times now. I mean, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of times at this point. But the more you do it, the more you have a plan, the more you have a strategy. Even when you see this machine growing around you, you got to be happy about following the strategy more than feeling upset that you missed out on the potential. Now, it's still got some of the upside. That's why you keep the 20% in a coin, right? If that's what you choose to do, which is helpful. But for a minute, I did feel that, oh man, I wish I just held that. You know, what was I doing? But once I got past that, I realized it's a smart thing to do. This is my strategy. I need to keep doing this over and over. I need to test these technicals. So for you guys, if you're testing out, if you're trying to get into technical analysis, if you're trying to do the Fibonacci stuff, if you're trying to do wedges or resistance support, I mean, anything, it could be beginner, advanced. I have found that especially in this business, you are going to become much better and a much better investor and decision maker the more you actually put money in to try the stuff. You can watch a million YouTube videos, you can read a million articles, you can be in a million Facebook groups of people telling you, hey, look, this looks like a good buy or whatever. But until you do the work, the actual technicals yourself, and until you go in and draw the lines and make a decision on your own and put 20 bucks in, 50 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever it is you're comfortable with, and see the result of your own work, only then will you become a better trader. If this is what the strategy you want to follow, which I think many of you do, right? I think a lot of people are attracted to that, as am I. So that was really important. Everyone else is like this. I mean, I can imagine anybody who invests in a ride is like this crazy jump, right? They're probably ecstatic at how much they had. But as somebody trying to play the long game, as somebody trying to consistently win over, small wins over time, compounding wins, that's just what happened to me. That's the thought process that I had. And, you know, it's great to watch, and I'll leave that $100 worth of Rise that I still have, and hopefully it goes way up. I don't know if it's going to, but the win was having a plan, sticking to it, and executing on that, and being able to learn from that. That's what's going to make the really big money happen down the road. Now, from what exactly happened, one of the other things I was tweeting about last night, I was watching this is probably around 10:30, 11 last night, give or take, is when this thing was screaming up. One thing you can do, if you don't already do this, I've talked about this before, is especially on the high volume books, when there's a lot of volume happening, a lot of buy volume happening all at once, is that you come down to this order book on Bittrex. So if you're listening, I'm on Bittrex, and right below the chart, there's two graphs. One that says bids on the left side, one says asks on the right side. And there's columns. And there's one that says sum, there's one that says total, there's one that says size, parentheses rise, and one that says bid, BTC. And on the other side, it's the same, except for it's ask instead of bid. What this is saying is that here's the total amount in Bitcoin. There's the number of rise that is happening. I should say, this is the sum of all the bids added together, right? So if you added the first bid, the second bid, the third bid, they compound to this much. So there's like up to this order line, the bottom order line, there's 0.8 Bitcoins being bid up to that. And the individual numbers are the second column. Do you see what I'm saying? So this shows you how much, the second column shows you how much action is being bid at that particular price. The first column shows you what the total number overall is, like how much support there is. And the size is just the number of actual coins that you're getting, and then the bid is obviously the price. And the same thing is true on the sell side, right? If this is new to you, or if you're listening on the podcast, it'll make sense when you watch the video. This is just a really important way to show how much beyond the charts, right? Like you can see how fast a particular demand curve is growing, but what this shows you is how much money is actually being bid. Because a jump from, let's say, 10,000 Satoshis up to 13,000 Satoshis on a very, very low volume coin can be done with a 0.002 bid, right? It can be a very small bid, but you can get a 30% jump if there's not a lot of other volume on it. So what I was looking at, or what you should always look at when you see a big run up, is it being fueled by a lot of Bitcoin or by a ton of very, very small bids? And what I noticed, I tweeted about this last night, you can check it out, is that there was a lot of, like all the big price jumps were being led by very, very small prices, and then they were slowly being filled in by bigger volume. And that's what really set it off. And what that typically means is that it's people that they want this to happen, and so they trickle up bids to try to get that big percentage increase, to try to get people's attention. Then that brings in other people that have more horsepower, or they go and they liquidate their whatever coin to get more fuel for this, and then so they can re-buy in, and that's when you see the actual sums and the totals start to increase. So whenever you see that, that's what hype is. That's FOMO buying. It's not necessarily pump and dump by any means. It just means that people are like, man, I don't want to miss this one. Pump and dumps are typically much faster. You see them go up, they dip, and they go up again, and then they get dropped. And that happens relatively quickly. This happened over a long enough period where you could see that it was just people FOMOing into this higher price and continuing to liquidate into that buyer. It's not necessarily a bad thing by any means. It just means that it's going to have a harder time maintaining the support once it gets off of page one of Bittrex, right? Without the news hype of it all, it just has a harder time, unless there's something really great about the Rise platform. And it seems like it's actually a pretty good piece of code and program to check out. But I think that's always interesting. And we see that a lot. We're going to continue to see that a lot for the coming weeks. is that when people start to see these green candles, they keep pushing it up with very, very small bids because they just want more. They just want it to keep going up. And it's not always with the intention of dumping the shares. It's just, they just don't want to see it. They just don't want it to stop because they've been waiting for so long for this to happen. And I think we can all empathize with that. I think that we've all felt that before in one way or another. And that's just part of the game, right? And trying not to get caught up in that. So I think one thing I would tell everybody, and this is something that I've started doing, is looking at these order books and seeing the relative strength. And now at the top of any page, and this is true in any exchange, you can click on this tab next to timeline for order books and you can see the relative size. So this is all the same information, it's just visualized. And as the steeper this is, the more volume there is closer to the actual sell price. Same with the buy wall. These are called sell walls, these are called buy walls. So you can always look at this if you want to get an idea of how much volume is pushing that price up, or how thin the order books are. So it's I would say a medium advanced topic, maybe not even, maybe like beginner to intermediate, but it can be really helpful when you're trying to determine support levels, how much it's going to drop, things like that. So always be learning, always trying to figure out new things, always trying to observe things and not get caught up with them, just watching and saying, what am I learning from this? What am I seeing happening right now? It's always one of the funnest things, for me at least. Verge. Verge has gotten a lot of attention. I mentioned this a long time ago. By no means did I think that was I recommending it. I just mentioned this briefly about how it seems to have a lot of people who are stoked on it. And the news, from what I can tell over the last few days, is that it started to get listed on a bunch of exchanges. It started to hit that flywheel effect. And now it's really just kind of having its second coming in many ways. So that's where we're seeing a lot of the volume. At least that's what a lot of the news is that it's being listed on some of the bigger exchanges. If you don't know, Verge is a privacy coin. As you know, I am a very, very big fan of privacy coins. Monero is one of my biggest holdings. And Verge, there's a bunch of them, right? But there's Monero, there's Zcash, there's Pivx, there's Verge. And then there's a few that Zcash forks that came off of, I don't know, like Zcoin and some others. And then there's Aeon, which is kind of, I own some of that, but who the hell knows what's going to happen with that coin. But privacy coins, I believe, are just going to continue to be more and more in demand. And nobody really knows which of those is going to win. I think it's Monero for whatever reasons. Other people think it's going to be Zcash because of the way the ring structure works with Ethereum. Some people think it's going to be Pivx because it's double ring structure and it's fast. Some people think it's going to be Verge because they use a Tor network. Everybody has their own opinions on this. But I do think the privacy coins will continue to be really important as people start to realize, like, oh my gosh, this whole blockchain thing is actually really public. And that's a big deal. It's a really big deal when people all of a sudden realize that actually Bitcoin isn't this sketchy dark web thing. It's actually a completely public version of the financial system. Privacy becomes a big deal, as it always has been and always will be. So I think that you'll continue to see these privacy coins going big, or doing really well. And so when it comes to the future of Verge, I don't know. I think it's going to become more of a battle of the titans. Who gets the best partnerships? Who continues to evolve the product? Who gets integrated the best? Who's got the best brand? I'm betting on Monero, but who knows? I'm going to buy a little bit of all of them just because I think the whole thing is important. So go check that out. There are a few other ones out there, the Zcash ones and Aeon, and I'm sure there's a few others. Those are just the ones that I've looked into. I've bought some of, a little bit of all of them just because the whole thing is as a what do you call it? category of coins is, in my opinion, a big one. One thing to keep in mind too, that often it's really appealing to look at some of these coins and say, oh man, it's only 1 cent to own 1,000 Verge or whatever. I mean, you can own hundreds of thousands of these for, a couple Bitcoin or whatever. I don't know what the math is exactly. And sometimes that can be very attractive to own 1 million of something. Once you get beyond the vanity of it, it's not that big of a deal. In fact, it's actually kind of annoying because it's harder to get liquidity on that, right? There's all these bids are only going to be one apart. It's hard to slip in there. It's hard to, really, there's a big percentage change on all of that. So pick your poison. Just don't let that be the reason you buy something, is because it feels like you own a lot of them. It's just kind of a, I don't know, not a bad reason. It's just, it's not a very rational reason. So it goes. If you want to learn more about it, go to vergecurrency.com. You can check it out and, see what you think. Make your own call on that. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't predict Verge is going to go crazy any more than I would predict Monero, Zcash, and all the others are going to pivot. I think they're all going to do really well. I think the winner is going to be the one that just gets adopted, right? That has a community, that gets the products, that does it the right way. So interesting to think about, because a lot of people have been asking me about this. I listened to this podcast this morning, which I thought was interesting. You can go to thisweekinstartups.com. This is not promoted, nothing. I genuinely just listened to this 2 hours ago. And the most recent one is this guy, Jason Calacanis. So Jason, I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago, last week. He's a very big investor in Silicon Valley, invested in Uber and Twitter and whatever. And Peter Smith founded blockchain.com, which is like a wallet and a bunch of API services, and it's really it's a big name in the blockchain world. And the reason why I think you'll find this interesting is that it's a really good, not dichotomy, but conversation between somebody who's in the venture capital world and somebody who's in the blockchain world. And the venture capitalist 6 months ago was like, tell me why this isn't a scam. This is ridiculous. And this is all speculation. You're full of it, blah, blah, blah. What a joke this is. And now the conversations are more along the lines of, well, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm a pragmatist and I'm a businessman. And the only thing worse than me being wrong about this would be me to miss out on this. And I better just swallow my pride and learn what the heck is going on. And I find that those conversations I find very, very helpful as an investor and as a student of this whole thing, this whole cryptocurrency phenomenon. And I think you will too. I think it's worth your time. They're both smart guys and they talk about interesting topics. And they also talk, I found that the most important learning from it was Jason is a very good example of somebody who has access to and represents a lot of money in Silicon Valley. And Peter is something that has a product that very much represents blockchain that is people get, or it's a good poster for the blockchain world. It's not too weird. It's not some use case ICO. It is a platform that can bridge that gap. And just hearing these two guys talk and the questions that are asked and the responses and the communication of it is super interesting, because you can tell that Jason is thinking to himself, all right, well, no matter what I think about this, the real question is, should I invest in this and what should I put my money into? And Peter looking at this from a standpoint of, this is a really big deal, and this is what it's all about. And that's just really fascinating. I think you guys will find it interesting from a macro standpoint. I would encourage you to check it out. This, some of the other podcast episodes, are more VC raised money, so it's not that interesting, but this one is. Okay, last thing I want to talk about for the day is that this article, this is not necessarily the best article because I didn't have enough time to go research everything, but it's this idea of wealth and income. This goes back to the third point I was talking about earlier about why I am personally in cryptocurrency and why I think many people are in cryptocurrency. And who cares? You know, I don't care why you're in this, right? If you want certain things to happen, if you need to make more money today, that's fun. Like that's your thing. If you're trying to make something really big, that's your thing. Who cares? But whatever. What's important, and this is something that I always want to remember, is the difference between wealth and income. I should say a better way to describe this is the difference between wealth and getting rich. In summary, getting rich means you make a lot of money and you have a lot of liquid capital, right? Typically cash. That could also be Bitcoin in this sense. But you acquire and you accumulate a very large amount of liquid currency that can be deployed to buy whatever it is you want. So when you're rich, you have a lot of currency, you have a lot of cash, you have a lot of buying power. When you're wealthy, you own a lot of assets. And there's a lot more to this from a mindset standpoint, which is a big part of it, and also just from a fundamental, economic standpoint. There's a complicated and longer term issue. But as you are going into your trading every day, and as you are looking at your portfolio every day, it's easy to look at Bittrex, to look at Bitfinex, to look at GDAX, to look at Gemini, to look at whatever account you're trading on, and think about the currencies that you're trading as a source of income. As Bitcoin is this currency that I use to make more money, which is, that's the trading side, that's the trading mentality, because it's a liquid thing, right? It is a liquid form that can be executed on an exchange to hopefully generate returns, which will make you more liquid currency in this case. What I would encourage everybody to start thinking about is, how are you using this whole crypto thing to build your wealth, right? Yes, you want to trade, you want to make the returns, you want to get that income, you want to make more from the markets, which is the trading side. But the real winners from this whole thing, especially starting right now, are the people that think about this in terms of how am I building wealth? And the best way to do that, in my opinion, and this is what I do, is that you consistently, I should say, not constantly, you consistently buy in to things like Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum, Monero, Litecoin, whatever your big coin's in, but definitely probably Bitcoin is probably the big one. And then put it somewhere that does not have access to your trading account. Treat it like a house. Treat it like a car, maybe not a car, that's not a good investment, but treat it like something that you can't make liquid. It is an actual asset that you own. It is not currency that you can spend. And the reason why this is so important is because it's going to become increasingly difficult over the next year to have an income from cryptocurrency. There's no denying that. Anybody who tells you otherwise, they don't understand how competitive market dynamics work. However, while it may get harder to make a consistent income, it's going to be probably easier to become wealthy if you just hold the stuff, if you treat it like assets and just let it grow at the 300-400% it's growing a year right now. And just having this asset class that you never touch. That's why 70% of my coins I do not touch. I only trade on 30%, because I know that wealth, by owning things, that's how you really build something big. And the income, the only reason for the income is to build that wealth machine that can spit out bigger returns and turn into something much bigger. I think that this is a really important issue. It's not even an issue at all. It's just a mindset shift. And if you're new to finance, if you're new to this sort of, I don't want to say entrepreneurial spirit, but if you're new to this idea of making money from your money, or if you are brand new to investing in markets, this is a unique one because the investments you make, they can be both liquidity and they can be assets, and it plays with your head. And I would just encourage everybody out there to make sure that you are saving at least 50% of your stuff for the long term, and you'll never touch it. Get a Trezor wallet, lock it up. Just don't touch it for a long time, because that's how wealth is built. It always has, and it always will happen that way. And then you use your other income assets to just feed that beast and just make it bigger and bigger. You're saying that wealth machine is bigger than, let's say, an index fund or a house or whatever your alternatives are, which all signs are pointing to it is being that. So I'm going to keep coming back to this every once in a while, because for myself, because when I look back at in a year from now at this video, August 31st, 2018, I'm 100% sure, I'll put it that way, that the real life-changing stuff that has happened to me in next year will not be because of my income level increasing. It will be because my wealth increased. It'll be because I amassed this huge portfolio of coins that have just grown and grown and grown. It will not be because I can necessarily trade really well and turn 1 Bitcoin into 7 Bitcoins in 24 hours. I'm a realist. I don't think that's going to happen to me. And I would think the statistics and the numbers would say that that's probably what's going to happen to most people as well. So I think that this is timely because we're looking at the Bitcoin charts. We're hitting all-time highs every single day. It's amazing. Great. And it's really, if something happens, it tends to be that when Bitcoin or when Ethereum or whatever hits their all-time highs, whenever it is the time that it's doing the best, all the other opportunities tend to pop up. Like that's when you hear about Rise. That's when you hear about whatever, right? Something that's the hot new thing, and you're like, oh man, well I could just liquidate half my Bitcoin and put it into this or whatever. And that's okay if you've allocated that. But what I would really encourage you, if you don't already do this, stick to that strategy of, let's say, 20% or 30% or whatever it is you're doing, but make sure that you're taking some profits along the way and putting it in somewhere that you can't touch. This is so unbelievably important. The chances of this strategy making you wealthy are so much higher than nailing it on some ICO, putting enough money into one of these moonshots that goes big. It may happen, and I hope it does happen for you. I'm gonna try to help you make that happen. But the real high probability strategy is that you get your gains, you lock in the profits, and you lock it up somewhere else, and then you refocus on your new pool of liquidity money, and you only touch that and let the wealth just do its thing. Let it grow forever for the next 5-10 years or whatever. And I say that because this is something that I've been able to do this, or I've been doing this, but I need to be more disciplined about it. So I'm just reiterating this, talking out loud. But for anybody out there, especially if you're getting new in this and you just got this huge hit of the Bitcoin drugs, of feeling this thing just keep going up, if you are not just holding it all already, if you are, that's great, keep doing that. But if you are trading it, make sure you have a clear division where you have a hold account and you have a trading account, and you will never touch the hold account. You only touch the trading account, and make sure you're pulling profits out of it consistently and fueling that large stockpile. It's so important. And I hope in 1 year from now, you look back at this video, if you're not already doing this, and you started doing it, even on a small scale, because that is what will grow to something really life-changing in 1 year. Might not feel like it next week or next month or even in 3 months or 6 months, but it's unbelievable how much can happen in a year. That's something I've been thinking about. So I really hope that helps you. That's something that you will not see on many other financial related YouTube channels because it's boring, it's not sexy, and it doesn't show you immediate results, but it's the truth. It's happened to many people, and it's happened in many parts of my world. The fundamentals always win. So I hope that was helpful. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Again, we're gonna just keep making these videos as I can. Yesterday's video, it is what it is. Lesson learned on a lot of things. Just keep trucking, keep rocking it out, and we'll keep investigating. I'm just gonna keep knocking down opportunities as much as I can and keep trying to help you guys out. So thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. I think that helps with the algorithm, and I would appreciate it. It'd be great. Share it with a friend if you found this video helpful. If there's somebody who's trading too much and they need to start, putting some money into their wealth pocket, make sure you send this video. Appreciate you guys. I really do. Thank you for all the emails, for all the direct messages, for everything. It's just an amazing journey. So can't wait to keep rocking it out. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.